Hingað kominn Lawrence Smith, hann professor í landafræði við UCLA í Los Angeles. Hann hefur skrifað merkilega bók, á ensku heitir hún The New North. Hún fjallar möguleika norðursins svona í hnattrænu samhengi og þetta náttúrulega mál sem að okkur koma mikið við og hérna Lawrence Smith hefur mikla trú á norðurinu og framtíð norðursins. So, welcome to Silver Ales, Lawrence. I would just like to ask you to sort of briefly tell me what your book is about.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me, and it's wonderful to be back in Iceland. The premise of the book is a thought experiment about what the world might look like 40 years from now, should current trends continue as they are. So it's a projection, not a prediction. And the four big themes that I examine in this book, they're very broad, but they're important forces that have always shaped the course of human history in the past and will continue to do so in the future. And these are population demographics, globalization, demand for natural resources, and climate change. Put simply, people, trade, climate, resources have always been important and will continue to. And so I draw out, using models, using current trends, I show that these are converging in very powerful ways in the northern part of the planet to make the northern region more important, more noticed, more strategically valuable to the rest of the world than is currently recognized.
So, will this rise be at the expense of the southern hemisphere or the regions around the equator?
In fact, it's not a zero-sum game. So this will happen in many ways thanks to the southern hemisphere and be elevated and brought up by the southern hemisphere, because, in particular, because of the growing economies of China, India, the developing world. This will place increasing demand on resource prices, for example, on demand for energy markets, for example, which will bring into economic viability some of these very remote places, not so much Iceland, but especially remote parts of Canada, for example, and Russia. So this is, and at the same time, in terms of quality of life, there will be stresses in these other parts of the world. People will still stay there, but there will be growing stress on water supply, on crowding, on food security and droughts. In contrast, the northern countries will seem like increasingly nice places to live.
Yes. So we might see more migration towards the north.
Potentially.
Which of course is like, well, Iceland, Russia, Canada is very densely populated in a way that's compared to the rest of the world.
Yes, the populations of all of the NORC countries, there are 8 countries that I spell out, and Iceland is one of them. I call them the NORCs. And with the exception of Russia, which is having a population decline by mid-century, all of the other NORC countries are projected to grow, some of them quite substantially, by 2050. Chief among these is Canada. That was a real surprise. The population of Canada is projected to grow by over 30% in the next 40 years, making it one of the fastest growing countries in the world on a proportional basis. It's almost the same rate as India. It's nearly triple the rate of Brazil, bigger, faster than Mexico, much faster than China. It's growing very rapidly.
Most of these countries, they have an abundance of raw materials, and they have energy, and they have lots of water.
Yes, these are very important themes in the book, all of the ones that you named. In particular, in terms of energy, Russia is already the world juggernaut in terms of natural gas. And with new discoveries that have just been found really in the last couple of years, the U.S. Geological Survey has conducted hydrocarbon potential estimates for the Arctic region. And they're pretty shocking. It's thought that up to 13% of the world's oil and undiscovered oil and up to 30% of its undiscovered gas may lie in the Arctic. These are huge numbers for a place covering just 4% of the globe. Iceland, of course, has a vast wealth of geothermal energy, which moving forward, as energy prices rise everywhere, this will become more valuable. And it really is the gold standard because it is clean, renewable energy as well. So Iceland is very well positioned with regard to this market.
What about the Arctic itself? We will have possibly more sailing around the Arctic, through the Arctic, and of course the huge energy reserves lying under the Arctic.
That's right. when we move to the far north, into the Arctic proper, this is where the fourth global force, climate change, really comes into play, because global warming is not uniform around the planet. It is amplified in the northern high regions, and particularly in the high Arctic, where we will see whatever the warming rate is for the planet as a whole, it will be 2, 4, even 10 times higher in the far north. So the most dramatic impact this will have is, of course, on the extent of the summertime sea ice, which has been steadily contracting since we first started mapping it using satellites in the late 1970s. The ice will always come back, of course, in wintertime. This is a summertime phenomenon. But already we are seeing increased ship activity along the northern sea route in just the last couple of years. The model projections, this is something I'm actually working on very seriously at UCLA, taking the climate models, combining them with the transportation models, and we do find an increase of maritime activity around the Arctic Ocean. But very important to Arctic development, most of the media is concentrating on this meaning a new shipping shortcut for international trade over the northern sea route. That may come to pass, but in fact we're still talking about a short season. I think what really is going to happen up there is increased shipping activity within the Arctic itself. This is shipping, hydrocarbons, village resupply, mining. This is something that's not being discussed, but in many ways has the potential to transform this region more significantly than another shortcut between Europe and Asia.
The NORCs, there are 8. What countries are they?
These are all of the countries with lands or seas north of the 45th parallel and having territories in the high latitudes. So just moving around the globe, these are Russia, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Greenland, currently part of Denmark, on its way to independence, Canada, and the United States.
Yes. And do you predict that the growth of these this region, whereas most people say, well, what is happening down in India and in China. That's the new engine of the global economy, and,
yes,
and will continue to be so.
Yes, in fact, it's those new engines in China and India that are fueling this. In the global marketplace, money from Shanghai is coming to finance centers in London, which is buying fish in Iceland. Some of these shipping outfits and multinational companies that will be doing energy extraction in the far north, with the exception of Norway and Russia, which still have state-controlled actors. This is global capital that is bringing this kind of activity to the north. So this is not an exclusive thing where I'm not at all projecting somehow that China and India will decline and the north will rise, but rather the north is being brought up in great part because of this rise in other parts of the world.
But won't we have problems? For example, the environment in the north is
yes,
very delicate, very fragile.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
This is a very pristine ecosystem. This is everything I'm saying might be. I must be clear. I'm a scientist, and I'm not an advocate for this at all. But I'm just laying out the data, in fact, as I see them, and this is where the trends are taking us. In fact, in the book, I'm extremely neutral. I make no personal judgments whether I personally like this or not. From the environmental perspective, this is not a good thing. We are talking about the extinction or extirpation of very unique polar ecosystems, and the polar bear truly is threatened, particularly in the Russian sector. We're talking about potential for oil spills and disasters in a very pristine and delicate part of the world. There is a lot of negative news in this story, as well as positive from the business sense.
You have been in Iceland 4 times, I think.
Yes.
What about the position of Iceland within this framework?
Iceland is uniquely positioned in many ways. First of all, from a climate change perspective, the climate changes for Iceland will not be as dramatic as seen in Canada and Russia. And this has to do with, of course, the geography of Iceland's placement in the North Atlantic Current. It's already quite warm here, and this region in the North Atlantic is not expected to warm very much because of the current situation, or the ocean current situation here. But in terms of the energy markets and the fish markets, Iceland is uniquely positioned. As I mentioned a few moments ago, the geothermal fields here really are an incredible resource. The fishing stocks that are here are an incredible resource, and especially if managed well, which is not the case in other parts of the world, where fishing pressure, as you know, is putting severe damages on world food stocks. So Iceland, and in terms of, obviously, it's hard to, I recognize it must be very hard to feel this long-term optimism for Iceland right now in this time.
Yes.
It's a very difficult time for Iceland, it's a very difficult time for the world. But taking the long view, 20, 30, 40 years from now, Iceland and these other northern countries are uniquely positioned to do well in this new century.
So you are very optimistic for Iceland and for the North.
I am, but I'm pessimistic for the rest of the world. I'm not necessarily viewed collectively. Many of the changes I describe bring some positives to the northern countries, but many damages and negatives to the world as a whole.
They have a downside to it, and can you elaborate a bit on that?
Sure. Well, I mean, these same trends that I'm discussing, resource depletion, the loss of ecosystems, the water stress, which is a very important part of the story, all of these will be paint an increasingly difficult life, an increasingly stressed life in places like the Middle East, places like the southwestern U.S. where I live.
Yeah.
These places, I'm not saying people will leave, but they will become more difficult than they are today. In contrast, the northern countries will start to look pretty darn good. Already, the northern cities rank among the most livable cities in the world, vibrant multicultural cities. In places like Canada and Russia, the winters will be milder. The climate changes are particularly pronounced in winter. And in terms of water, already these are very water-rich countries.
Yeah.
By the middle of this century, the Norks will be, in terms of water, will be the envy of the world.
Yes. Well, this is interesting. And your book has been creating waves. You are in Iceland for a lecture now?
Yes, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Thank you for being on Silfur Egils, Lawrence Smith.
My pleasure.